Kevin brings you on, but what I want you to share is, though, your background is interesting because you don't have that typical franchise background. You come from a strength really in financial services. Is that right?
Yeah, prior to coming to Buzz Franchise Brand, I worked for a credit union, a pretty large credit union that was based here in Virginia, but had a pretty solid presence in Utah and some in Texas as well. And I came on board with the organization to really drive growth, but there were a lot of efficiencies that were, part of the job itself, and starting out with creating some efficiencies with 3 brands that we had out in Utah. And so I did that for 3.5 years prior to coming here. And so while it wasn't in franchising, both my careers before coming here had to do with the unit economic model, following standard operating procedures, driving consistency in the brand and the presence. So a lot of commonalities there. And obviously in the credit union, it was financial services with branches. There were 62 branches of that credit union. And so you had some consistency, of course, there. And then prior to that, I worked for what started out as a small company. It was called Coastal Training Technologies. I was really fortunate to work with an incredible entrepreneur and leader named Paul Michaels, who's truly been a mentor for me my entire life. And we did corporate training specifically around manufacturing, industrial safety, environmental compliance, those kinds of things. But we had learning management systems and tools. And what I did for the company was, pretty early on, I was given the liberty to go out and set up offices, wholly owned subsidiaries around the world, doing the same thing. So the first office we set up was in Brazil. We then set up offices in Spain and Germany, the Netherlands, Mexico, India, the Philippines. And so we built this organization. I was there in total for 19 years, of which 16 were with Coastal Training Technologies. We ended up selling the business to DuPont, and that became then 650 people, became 77,000 people that worked for the organization. So very different culture and organization than the entrepreneurial, make decisions quickly and react quickly. But in both cases, the experience was around, getting a unit economic model and replicating that overall. Even though it was wholly owned as opposed to franchising, there were certainly some similarities in that. But I will honestly say, Frank, what I get to do now in working with franchisees is the most fun I've ever had, and the most passionate I've been about work ever, is just because you get to help people but they're in business for themselves, but they're not by themselves. We're literally working alongside them. At the end of the day, we work for our franchisees to support them and help build great businesses. And it's just that passion of being an owner is totally different than the passion of being an employee, an executive, nevertheless, but still it's a different passion. And the relationships we get to foster with our franchisees are incredible and fun.
That is great. What I love about franchising is that there's very few people that have that pedigree from franchising, that, they're a generational, second generation franchise kid that comes into the business. Most of us come from different backgrounds. And that is what I love about franchising, is that you have a wealth of background knowledge of other industries. And we get to take that knowledge, that experience. I mean, you got a chance to take, really, essentially, while it wasn't a franchise, you've taken 2 different past experiences that were unique in themselves to bring this. And you get to deliver now, as part of Pool Scouts, you get to deliver this experience, deliver this training, deliver this system, and be part of this leadership of a brand that is really, you guys are growing obviously like gangbusters, but I think there's a big advantage what you guys do, having several brands under the umbrella and having your wealth of experience and background outside of it. Look, I could picture this, right? You've got an audience of people that are listening that are maybe interested in buying a franchise, and they might be thinking, okay, pool service, why can't I do this on my own? There's a huge advantage of being part of this Buzz Franchise Brands, but can you share what makes being a franchisee of Pool Scouts different than me just being a mom and pop and doing this and, not paying a franchise fee, royalties, blah, blah, blah?
Yeah. Yeah, and often when we're having a meet the team day, which is for us towards the latter part of the sales process or the development process for a franchise candidate, I always share that that candidly and honestly. When we provide franchisees a brand. We provide them with, a ton of marketing to help get the phone to ring, to help them acquire customers. I like to say we tell them where to buy the ketchup packets and how much they cost and should cost and how much to sell them for, obviously with the market research that we do in each community that we service. And then, most of our folks that come into this business don't have experience on the pool side of the business. And so we have a team of 4 experts here that teach, train, and support on an ongoing basis. We've done it. Our team has done it. So, the learning curve here is we have hands-on support, both from a marketing perspective, like I mentioned. We help them plan their marketing, execute it, measure it, understand what's working, provide the ROI, all those things. We have business coaches that help them build their budget, work and plan accordingly, know when to need a new vehicle, and know how to drive margin, all those things. And then we have the pool support, which is the technical component. There is a technical component to our business. We teach the pool chemistry and the water flow, and we teach, how to do repair work and all the other components of our business. And then, of course, like any franchise, we provide them with all the systems to operate the business efficiently, right? And we are, we're not authoring the systems. We have best-in-class systems that are cloud-based and operable from any sort of operating system, and, make it easier to operate a scalable business. The competitors that we talk about, the mom and pops, don't really offer, that kind of support. And we're passionate about delivering the support over the time of their franchise. It changes. In the beginning, we're teaching them nuts and bolts and hands-on stuff. And as they become more mature, we're helping them drive better margin and really, build scale and make more money. So it's fun to walk through those different stages and phases of support that we offer.
Sure. Well, you're solving a huge problem in business. We know that 96% of all businesses fail within 5 years, right? You're solving a huge problem is that you're not just teaching people how to maintain pools. More importantly, you're teaching people the business of maintaining pools. And I think, just from my own, as a consumer of a pool service, the big thing, the big limitation with so much of the mom and pop companies is that they don't know how to scale. They're only as good as they can do it themselves. They don't think about hiring. They don't think about being the CEO or the business owner. So they're working, I hate to say the cliche, but I'm going to say they're working in the business, not on the business. And in order to be successful in Pool Scouts, I would imagine you've got to be really good. You have to know the technical work, but more importantly, you have to be really good at learning how to operate the business of pool maintenance. Is that accurate?
Very accurate. Our business has so much predictability around it. We have some amazing just facts and figures. Our average value per customer last year was over $1,300 across the entire franchise system. Almost 60% of the customers we serviced last year were brand new to Pool Scouts. So this year we've seen already 16% growth in average value per customer year to date. There's so much predictability. Last year, we averaged 18 services per customer, despite the fact that so many came in during various courses of the year. So lots of predictability on that side of things. But ultimately, people often ask me, well, what's the most challenging part of being a Pool Scouts franchisee or the business itself? And I always answer that with people. And I think in most cases, almost every business, unless you're selling a internet widget that doesn't have any people involved in it, people are always the most challenging and rewarding component of any business. So for us, we have technicians in the field that are doing the work day to day in people's backyards. And so our most successful franchisees are good people. They're able to hire and retain great technicians, and they're also able to deal with a lot of customers. Our most mature franchisees will service over 1,000 customers this year. And so when you think about that, that's a lot of customer relationships to manage and a lot of people to manage ultimately too. So, those are things that we look for in candidates, and we're always overt about what we think is going to make a great partner. Any franchise agreement is a contract between the franchisor and the franchisee. In our case, it's a 10-year agreement. Always describe it as a marriage. You want both parties to be super excited going into the marriage, And then it's a lot of work to maintain that enthusiasm and passion. And it takes work on both sides to make it successful. And, we want to make sure that we have passionate people on our organization, both in Pool Scouts and in Buzz Franchise Brands, that are literally going to do what's right by the franchisee and answer the phone at Sunday night at 8:00 and say, yes, I'm here to help you. And that's really a testament to Kevin Wilson and Brian Garrison, Angela and Mike Hall, our team of leaders that have really helped us build an incredible culture here at Buzz Franchise Brands where people care.
That's awesome. Well, it sounds like you mentioned earlier how you guys know exactly, the territory, exactly where you want to be. But what would be some of the traits of a franchise owner that you look for?
Yeah, so I mentioned the people skills. That's definitely something that, it's probably the hardest things to assess when you're going through the evaluation process of a candidate, albeit, we bring them here, we get a chance to spend time with them. Our franchise development executives are, they're often either working through organic lead sources or through consultants that often provide us with, maybe a DISC personality type thing. So we get some sort of read on their, their skill set or what their strengths or weaknesses are, et cetera. And then, there's a lot of juggling in our business. So we provide the systems that help them operate the business efficiently. But if you have a mature franchise that has 14 vehicles out on the road that's servicing or cleaning, 80 or 100 pools in a day, that's a lot of moving parts in a business. So I think, people that are comfortable doing that, we train, of course, and you build up to get to those numbers. But I think that's important. And finally, because we're a community business that's servicing a lot of homes in a community, we love to find people that are not afraid to be the business owner in their community. And so that means they're literally or figuratively wearing their shirt in the community, presenting themselves, being visible at Chamber of Commerce events or sponsoring golf tournaments or ball teams, or, literally not afraid to put themselves out there as the business owner. We can teach a lot of things, but that's something that is nice to have when you can see folks that have that passion and are not afraid to do it.
Thank you for tuning into the Emerging Franchise Brands podcast. For additional insights, guest applications, and to stay connected, visit us at efbpodcast.com. The Emerging Franchise Brands podcast is for entertainment purposes only, and the views expressed do not necessarily represent those of Emerging Franchise Brands, its host Frank Fumey, or Emerging Franchise Group, LLC. Any discussed franchise or investment opportunity requires thorough investigation, obtaining proper disclosure documents, and expert consultation before making any investment decisions. The podcast and its host do not offer professional advice or endorsements, and they hold no responsibility for actions, representations, accuracy, or consequential damages related to the podcast content.